Welcome y'all to another episode of our Shenzhen I Let's Play. And there was an update recently, so we are now on Shenzhen version 1.2. May have to go back and see if it broke any of our old designs. I think we should be okay because it's not like we were cheesing anything so much to really get down to low stuff. They work, and they'll probably continue to work. This week we're going to take a look at 3 kingdoms. And from looking at it, it looks like it's basically just someone wants to make an automatic change machine. So outside of how they want to do the timing, that doesn't sound like it should be too difficult. Let's go take a look. Okay, it takes 1s, 5s, and 12s. Why 12? 12 just seems a very weird and arbitrary number to use, but okay. Ring a bell, and then outputs in 1s and 5s. That makes sense. Since there's no way, if you need to return a 12, you didn't need to put the 12 in the first place. So once we reach the payment, then ring a bell, and that's a change. Pretty straightforward. So we have our input that we need to verify. So the first one's fairly straightforward. Put in 2 12s, immediately ring the bell, immediately output a 5. So that's going to be fun. And it looks like in between each output there's going to be 1 down pulse, which makes sense so that we only dispense on the rising edge and not just constantly dispense. So I think that definitely means we can take advantage of our digital I/O expander, the DX300. And it looks like we can do it in both the in and the out. The question is, can we just use one to do all of them? Let's get that out of the way. That way. You that way. So as usual, let's start with the big chip on the input and see what we can get. We only need the 1 input for now. So basically what we want to do here is we just want to read the value in and see if it's greater than or equal to the price. So move X1. And since we need to return it, we should keep track of it. So let's move it to the accumulator. So the way this will work, the 12s will be represented by 100, 5s 10, and 1s is 1s. So if the accumulator is greater than 100, okay, we're going to want to do math. So let's move that to the DAT instead, where we add 12. And then if the DAT is greater than 10, we add 5. Or greater than 1, add 1. So looking at that real quick, I wonder if we can optimize that to not even do the test and just add the 1, or add what's in our DAT. Okay, so if we set this as a minus, and this is a minus, if we get a plus, this will run, and then negate everything below it. If we get it as a minus, this will run, and we'll make this true, and then we get rid of this, and make that a minus, and we need to make that the DAT. We know the DAT is not 100 or 10. And we can't have anything other than 1 pulse at a time, because it'd be hard to fit 2 coins in at the same time into the slot. So that means that yes, we should be able to do that and get away with that. Hopefully we won't be that tight on lines, but considering we've used a good chunk of our lines already and we haven't even actually handled the rest of this, it's going to be tight. So we've done that. So it looks like we're going to want another chip for actually outputting and vending the change, because I don't think there's going to be enough here just based on that. And I'm making these 2 buddy-buddy just to get them kind of out of the way. And from looking at our output, the bell needs to happen at the same time as this. And I don't think we can read the state back from the direct I/O thing. So I think we're going to have to do something like that. And that'll be the last thing we want to do after we actually output the data to the next chip to do the vending. So we know how much we have. Then we need to say, is the price less than what we have in the accumulator? Also, is the price equal to what we have in the accumulator? If the amount in our accumulator is greater than or equal to the price, so we need to check to see if X0 is less than the accumulator or it's equal to the accumulator, then we need to subtract the price and then move whatever's left over to the other chip to handle the rest of it. And then we just got to figure out our pulse after that. So how many cycles do we want to do? We want to do 1, 2, that's 4. So we want to, on P1 for 4 cycles, and then 0 off cycles. since we don't know how long after we input something it's going to be before we can take something else. We can assume at least 1 cycle. No, we can assume 0 cycles. Depending on if the price gets down to 12, then it would have to be at least 1, since we need some buffer time there to make sure everything has enough time to do everything. And then we can sleep 1. This is going to be very power hungry. And we've made a mistake. We didn't move that to the DAT. Aren't resetting our accumulator, so we'll always have that remainder. That's a problem. Okay, I think that's good for that chip. So now we need to move over to the other one. And for this one, what we're going to want to do, we're going to have 2 different states, right? Because we have our vending state and our ready to vend state. And so what we want to do is check to see if we're in the vending state or not. If our accumulator has anything in it, or if our accumulator is 0, then we want to sleep until we get something from X1 to go again. And as soon as we're woken up, we want to actually read that into the accumulator. Otherwise, actually regardless, so the only time that we want that to be true is if we're not doing anything. Otherwise, we just harmlessly pass by it. Otherwise, we're going to want to see if our accumulator is greater than 4. Since we dispense 5s and 1s, greater than 4 should test equal to, less than or equal to. If we check if we're greater than 4, then we'll be testing greater than equal to 5. And if we are, we want to move 10 to X3. Because remember, 10 equals 5. We might be able to do something fancy by redoing a different number base, except I don't know if that's as easy as I think it could be, considering the numbers don't line up like an actual different number base for the different inputs of the digital I/O expander. And then let's also move a 5 to the DAT so we know how much we subtracted. If we aren't greater than or equal to 4, we need to check to see if we're greater than 0. Are we greater than 0? We probably also need to check to see that we're less than 5, or we're going to run a 5 and a 1 at the same time, which is not good. So, and are we less than 5? And if we are, move 1 X3. We are, move 1 to the DAT. Done our output, so we now need to sleep 1. We need to reset back to 0. And sleep 1 again. And now we need to subtract the DAT. However, we need to make sure that we don't subtract it if we're already at 0. And we only have 1 line left, so we can do it up here. Take advantage of it. Of us already having a 0 check. It's a lot of lines of code and a lot of chips. Very curious if there's an easier way of doing this. Okay, so let's run it and let's simulate it a bit real quick and see what happens. Oh, that is definitely off. Why is that? That is why. This always needs to run, not just in the negative case. So our little nifty optimization is wrong. So let's go back to doing just the simple, because that was a clever thing, but not clever enough apparently. Okay, that seems a bit better. Let's find out. So far so good, let's kick it into gear. Wow, I was expecting much worse than that. So as part of 1.2, they added a lines of code now, which probably goes fairly closely to production cost. However, our production cost was pretty low compared to our lines of code, and our power usage wasn't great. I'm curious how we could have gotten that lower. I'm decently happy with that result. Go see what's next. Yes, I'm sure that's something deep and profound, but I don't know what it is. And then we have... Sorry, I don't know about you. I love me some cheese. Her and I can never be friends. Oh, that's unfortunate. Alright, let's see what's next. Sandwich assembler. Sandwiches. Yes, I'm sure we like sandwiches. Go block until a key is pressed. I don't think that's a bad thing, because then we can just sleep and then grab the value off the XBus, because he said it's normal XBus, so that's an assumption there. Next one. That sounds like an interesting target illuminator. Also makes sense. And let's go take a look at the last one. So he wants to make a haunted doll. So there's some things in there that we can go look at to make sounds. You know, I know this is out of order, but that one sounds kind of interesting. Let's go take a look at that one. Let's go take a quick look at the data sheet to see what he was talking about the sound. It looked like there were 2 different sounds that they wanted us to play. Sinister Giggle, this one right here. A wave file for that little short sound seems overkill. And Blood Curdling Cry, this one. Honestly, that looks more like a MIDI than a wave. My age may be showing. Anyways, especially with Internet Explorer 3, holy crap. Okay, so I see a bunch of numbers, so this is probably one of the perfect times for one of the ROM chips. A ROM being different than RAM, because a ROM is read-only memory, while RAM is random access memory. So this would be something that they would program in at the factory, and then we just read the values out as needed. I'll go throw those in and then bring y'all back with me. So let's go grab our ROM, and I'll throw in a couple values right quick, and then you can see how this is. This one's the RAM, this one's the ROM. We're gonna need 2 of them. Set them at the bottom in case we need the room here, which I don't think we will, but you know, just in case. And let's run through the numbers right quick. And this should be the top one, so it'll be 100, 80, 40, 15, 14, 41, 69, 74, 54, 27, 19, 40, 75, and 0. Okay, and for the other one, we have 16, 36, 42, 14, 10, 58, 100, 76, 26, 28, 70, 80, 42, and 0. 10 keying is your friend. Alright, so we don't need that open anymore. Now let's go look at what the output looks like. Interesting, it's a offset of 50. So I guess we'll need to initialize that to something. So let's set our chips up so that we have minimal runs, just because long traces aren't necessarily a good thing if you can avoid it. So let's try to set up everything over here. There. We can have some nice straight run. Oh wait, no. You there. 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 That there. All right. So looking at our output, first at 50. We need to go to 50 by default. We have 2 states here. We're either waiting to find out if we need to play a sound or we're playing a sound. So let's handle the waiting to play a sound. Call it wait. And we want to see when P0 is greater than 2, because we're looking for a 1 or a 2. And we'll have to find out later if a 0 is going to come in ever. A valid value. And since we have so much documentation on this chip, oh wait, that's right, the undocumented chip doesn't even have a part number. We think it's generating random numbers. We're really hoping it generates random numbers. And if we don't, we're going to want to jump to end. End is going to be something later we add that's just going to be a labeled sleep. In the meantime, those comments. That comment? Yeah, we'll just comment that out for now because I don't want to see that red sign up there annoying us the entire time. Okay, so every cycle, let's say we just move P0 to the accumulator. So that handles our waiting state. Now we need to check to see if we do the sound state or when we end the sound state. So if you notice, both of those ROM chips have a 0 as the last value in there as their data. So I think we can make an assumption that says, let's just check until we get a 0. And then if we get a 0, then we can reset. So the way I'm looking at this is we have actual non-zero values for everything last field in the ROM. So I think we can use that value of 0 in the ROM as our end signal, instead of trying to do any counting or anything like that. With that in mind, we have that saved off, so all we need to do now is check to see whether it's a 1 or 2 to see which data chip we're going to read from. We'll label this sound because this is where we need to jump back to each cycle. Is the accumulator equal to 1? Yes. This is why we'll want to move from X1 to the DAT, and we need to save it off because otherwise we'll lose the sound. And we can't read from a simple pen that we just wrote to, because it'll reset the value to 0, so we won't know what it is. Otherwise, was it X2 to the DAT? And then all the rest is common. Just move DAT to P1. Check to see if the DAT equals 0. If it does not, sleep 1. And jump back to sound. We can move the next value in. Otherwise, move 50 to P1 so we can reset. And then we'll just want to sleep one. Then we can go back up here and uncomment our end. Okay, so unless I did something silly and missed something obvious, this should be pretty straightforward. And it did. So y'all probably already figured this out. However, A1, not D1, means that's an address. So let's do this. Change this to a 0. You don't have to move any chips around. Works a little better now. Should just work unless they're doing things weird later on. No, they're not. Wow. Apparently nobody's been able to figure it out for less than 1 chip and 2 ROMs. Power usage. How can you get power better? People must be doing some tricky things to try to get it to optimize the sleeps better. Because I bet they're doing something funny where once they played a sound, then they're sleeping for a certain amount of time to kind of get some better sleep, just to get some less power usage. Apparently someone figured out how to do it without any lines of code, or next to none. That's interesting. So I was thinking about it real quick. I think we could save a little bit of power in a very cheap and easy way. So let's go try it. So if you notice right here in our verification, it looks like we never have anything back to back. The question is, how much time do we have between each execution? So I think we can do a little bit of cheese and put a little bit of a sleep in after we finish playing the sound to get a little bit extra to save a little bit on power. So let's go ahead and try it. Let's start with 10 and we'll do it right after resetting back to 50. When we know we're done. Let's give that a shot. And then we'll just cut this in half if it doesn't work. Oh, didn't work. Okay, so too long. Like quite a ways, it looks. Let's just try cutting that in half real quick. I'll speed up the iterations on this so you don't have to fit through all of it with me. Okay, it's going to take a little bit longer than that. So let's go with 3. And if 3 works, then we'll try 4. All right, that worked. Got us down to 253. We'll give it a quick 4. Hey. Cost us another line of code, which is fine, but it did get us down to 249. That works. Anyways, let's see where we are at. She's all like, no ghost for you. What is this? Maintenance robot. Okay, so they want a robot farmer. Got it. So we have a sandwich assembler and a carbine target illuminator to do first. Oh, and what is this? Okay, so she wants long-term planning and growth, which is understandable, but isn't that her job as vice president? Maybe? You know, leadership, actually setting a direction for people? Or is this the part where she's trying to convince everyone that their part matters, and then she's going to be like, oh yeah, that's a great idea, but we're going to do this. And on that note, if you like, leave a like. If you didn't, leave a dislike. If you have any questions, suggestions, feedback, or advice, drop it in the box below. Good luck in your races. Y'all take it easy.